Welcome to Beyond Death, where we examine near-death experiences from people who say they have died, visited the other side, and came back. Today's NDE came to the channel's email anonymously. In it, this man describes being pulled from a major wreck prior to dying and being escorted by angels to another galaxy beyond our own. Let's get into it. I always feared death growing up. Even as a child, as far back as I can remember anyway. I had this borderline insane fear of dying. I know that nobody wants to die, but I was honestly petrified of death. It's not that I thought about the chance of going to hell or anything like that. For me, it was more of my brain processing death as being painful, and I did not like pain. Looking back, I think this stems from being taken at a young age to see my grandfather on his deathbed. I'm not sure what he died from, but I remember the look on his face when the pain would hit. I never wanted to experience that type of pain. Ever. I avoided hospitals for the exact same reason. My brain had learned at a very young age that hospitals was not where you went to feel better, but instead they were where you went to feel pain and die. Talk about early childhood trauma. I had tons of it. And let me say this right now. If you are a parent facing losing a family member, do not force your young children to experience death before their minds fully develop enough to process the event. You do more harm than good. My own near-death experience changed my mindset on dying completely. I now understand that dying can be pain-free, as was the case for me. I was in college and was driving to Maine to visit my brother during the Christmas holidays. This was the first time I would be seeing my brother since he had left our home state of Florida 3 years prior, and I was more than a little anxious to get to his house, so much so that I had set my cruise control to 10 miles above the speed limit. I thought this was a safe enough travel speed, and hopefully any police I encountered would overlook it because it wasn't like I was going all that fast. Other drivers were still passing me. I never even knew what black ice was before I hit it that night. In fact, if you had told me what it was, I would have called you a liar. 1 second I was driving fine, and the next my car was completely out of control. Panicking, I seemed to recall hitting the brake, which sent me fishtailing one way, and then the next as I fought the steering to regain control. It all happened so fast, but as I was experiencing it, time just seemed to slow down completely. I remember at one point realizing the car was beginning to roll. Then the most amazing thing happened. I suddenly found myself outside of the car, or at least my soul was. I had what could only be described as angels on either side of me with their arms intertwined with my own. Yes, I still had arms and legs, a complete body, but only in form. I was in fact nothing more than a spiritual being. I watched below as my car, with my earthly body inside, continued to roll before finally coming to a rest in the center of the median. Even from where I was high above the scene, I knew there was no way anyone could have possibly survived that wreck. It was then that I realized I felt no pain. I looked to the angel on my right side. He appeared to be around 9 to 10 feet tall and was very muscular. He radiated a light around his entire being, and his face was calm and serene. Without moving his lips, he communicated with me. It was completely telepathic communication. "Do not fear, we have you," he stated. Fear was not what I was experiencing at this moment. Instead, I felt relaxed and complete, for lack of a better word. It was like I had spent my entire life as just half of what the Creator designed me to be, and now, with these angels, I was whole. This light that radiated from the angels was love. Pure, unadulterated love to a higher degree than any I had ever known on earth. The angels and I began to rise higher and higher into the sky. Then we breached Earth's atmosphere and were in space. I was unsure where we were going, but by now I assumed I was being escorted to heaven or judgment or whatever. I had no real religious background to speak of, so I could only guess at what was to come next. My subconscious deduced that if I were going to hell, I would not have been saved from a painful death by angels. As soon as I thought that, the angel on my right communicated with me again. He stated, "That's a fair assumption. We were sent to alleviate your transition." My transition. I asked. Yes, we sometimes get sent to extract the soul prior to the homecoming. That is the case with you. But why me? I asked. At this point, the angels stopped their ascent and looked at me with a puzzled expression, as if I had just asked them the hardest question to answer in the world. Finally, the angel on the left, who was every bit as large as the one on my right, replied, "Why not you?" Knowing I had no answer, we again began our ascent. We rose higher and higher until I could look behind us and see the entire Milky Way fading into the distance as we left the galaxy. "Where are we going?" I asked. One of the angels, I forget which one now, answered, "Home." Finally, in the distance, I saw a light. As we approached it, we began to pick up speed, and it grew closer and closer to us. Finally, we arrived. The light we had been racing towards was another place, another planet, in fact. The angels slowly set me down in a large field with the brightest colors I had ever seen. Some I did not even know what to call, as we don't have them here on Earth. "Wait here," one of the angels stated, which I found odd, because where else would I go? I didn't exactly have a clue where anything was. After some time, I saw a man approaching me across the field. As this man got closer to me, I thought some of his features looked familiar. By the time he had completely reached me, I recognized him. It was my grandfather. He smiled at me with a twinkle in his eye and asked if I had a nice trip. This communication was the same as with the angels, telepathic. I had 1,000 questions to ask, beginning with, "Where is here?" and ending with, "Where is God?" My grandfather tried answering all of my questions patiently. However, after a few dozen, he stopped me to tell me that I could not stay. It wasn't my time. At this point, I began to argue that I had seen my wreck from above it, and that there was no way anyone could have survived a wreck that bad. It would be better if they just let me stay. He again replied that I could not stay. Everyone has their own exit time, and mine was not yet. I was going to be sent back to Earth to finish what I had started. This confused me greatly because it was never stated what I was to finish. Did I have some mission to accomplish? And what if I never complete it? My grandfather assured me that when it is my time, I will be brought back home. By now, I was frustrated. I did not wish to be forced back to Earth, back into a body that was bound to be mangled and broken from the wreck it had just experienced. So I asked why they would even bring me there if I wasn't going to be allowed to stay. The answer I got was not from my grandfather, nor was it from one of the angels that had escorted me there. This answer came from a voice above me, or at least that's where I pictured it coming from. In fact, it was really inside my head. This booming voice explained that I had been extracted before death because I needed to learn not to fear death, and that my grandfather was there to meet me so I would understand life continues beyond the earthly realm. Earth is not our life, nor was it ever intended to be. Earth is merely a stepping stone in our overall transitioning, kind of like middle school. I tried one last time to debate my being allowed to stay, and I thought my point was valid. I asked the voice, "If I was extracted prior to death, as you say, then I must be dead on Earth by now, and if I am dead on Earth, how can I return?" I never got a direct answer from the voice. Instead, I awoke in the hospital. I had been airlifted from the scene and had been in a coma for the last 6 days. When rescuers got to me, they had to cut me from the wreckage, and when they got me to the hospital, I was barely alive. I spent the better part of the next year in physical therapy, and even though it was painful at times, I no longer fear death. I recognize it as a continuation of a long journey we all take together. I know where my grandfather is, and I know he is no longer in pain. One day I will join him. It just won't be today. Note from Beyond Death. This NDE was sent to me anonymously. I can offer no more information on this person, nor can I answer anything they did not cover in this email. Until next time, stay blessed.